Alright guys, welcome back to another YouTube video on my channel. Today we'll be going through my round 19 footy tips. Here we go. We're really close to finals now, and all 18 teams, well, technically some of the teams on the bottom can't even make it. They're all trying to fight for the finals places. Anyways, here we go. Back in Melbourne from Sydney. Hope you guys enjoyed round 18 of Sporting Lou whilst I was in Sydney, and then let's get stuck into round number 19. Kicking things off on Thursday night between Essendon and GWS. I just can't take this anymore. Why do Essendon keep on playing fucking prime time? They're so shit. They don't deserve to play in these prime time slots. It's against the Giants side. Obviously, GWS were just absolutely magnificent against Geelong last week. They should be able to put on the same performance against the Bombers, as in being too strong for them. Even though it's a Marvel Stadium. So, well, Essendon do have a home crowd advantage. But I don't think they'll get the job done because, look, the Bombers don't think they'll step up. So, I'm just going to the Giants to get this done by... Let's go to the Giants to get this done by 27 points. And the big call is Jesse Hogan kicks at least 4 goals in that game. The next game's between the Lions and the Dogs at the Gabba. Now, this is more like a primetime game. Brisbane and Bulldogs, they're both really playing really well. And obviously, coming off the Dogs, coming off a 11-point loss to Adelaide last week, and the Lions beating Brisbane and belting them. They go back home, and this is actually a good game. Because it's the reigning premiers versus the highest team scoring at the Gabba. Well, it's a Brisbane home game. Now, look, Brisbane, obviously they're just they have a lot of stars. So do the Dogs as well, but I don't know how they did not get the win against Adelaide. Well, look, the Crows, they have stars as well. They're a good side as well. So at the Gabba, Brisbane winning after quarter time, so then the Lions just absolutely, ran away from Carlton. Well, the Dogs did play under average of footy, but they came back in the last quarter only to just fall short by 11. I think the Brisbane Lions are going to get this done, as they're just a great side at their home ground. So I'm going to go to the Lions to get this done by, let's go with 20 points, and the big call is Charlie Cameron kicks at least 3 goals. The next game's between Hawthorn and Port Adelaide at UTAS. Now, Port Adelaide obviously coming off a win against a much improved West Coast last week at the Adelaide Oval. But this is going to be tough for Port because, look, Hawthorn, they haven't even lost at UTAS this year whatsoever. Damn. The Hawks should get the job done coming off a loss against the Dockers after being 13 points up. They ended up losing by 13. And Port Adelaide, they were trailing West Coast at halftime, and then in the last quarter, Port Adelaide finally stepped up in their game and got the job done. So, I'm going to go with the Hawks to get this done, as is at UTAS, and Hawthorn never lose there, or rarely, because what did they do? Lose to Port. But anyways, I'm going to go with the Hawks to get this done by, let's go 15 points. The big call is the Wizard to kick at least 2 goals, and the margin would not go over 30 points whatsoever. The next game's at the SCG between Sydney and North Melbourne. Now, North Melbourne, they're just stuck on the bottom of the ladder, or not the very bottom, because West Coast are third last bottom, because the Tigers are just below them. Then the Eagles on dead rock bottom. But anyways, I'll get to that game, West Coast and Richmond, in 2 games' time. Alright, anyways, Sydney, look, they've won 2 in a row, and they've kept this season, this slim season, truly alive. They've beaten the Saints by 5 points in an absolute classic game I've watched on Sunday night, the day I got back to Melbourne from Sydney. But if the Swans loses, then I don't think they'll have any hope of participating in September. The Swans should get the job done because it's against the lowly North Melbourne side. So I'm going to go with the Swans to get this done. The Swans to get this done by 46 points, and the big call is Isaac Heaney kicks at least 3 goals. The next game's between Carlton and Melbourne at the MCG. Now, look, Carlton last week, obviously, they played absolute shithole and lost to Brisbane by like 37 points, if I'm right. Damn. Now, look. Melbourne, look at the days. They've broken a 4-game losing streak against North Melbourne. Well, if I'm technically right, because they did lose the 4 of the last 5. Only just winning the last game out of the previous 5. It's against Carlton. Oh, I think the D's will get this done because, look, Carlton don't think they'll improve. In Melbourne, they have a more promising side as the Blues have just too much injuries. Like Silvani, Mackay, Sard being out. Let's go with the D's to get this done. I'm going to say the D's to get this done by 22 points. And the big call is the D's will win every quarter. The next game is between West Coast and Richmond at Optus Stadium. West Coast were really gallant in last week's clash against the Port, but ultimately couldn't find the win. In Richmond, look, they won an absolutely low-scoring game against the Bombers last week, and that's probably last week the shittest game I've ever seen in my entire life. I was so lucky I didn't watch that game, as I was out for dinner at Sydney during that time when I was coming home from the Giants and the Cats, where Geelong played absolute horrid. Had dinner and then went back to my hotel room and streamed the final quarter of the Fremantle Hawthorn game, which is of course a much better game. Now, this is West Coast's big opportunity to get this job done. Set up the centre and against a really lowly Richmond side. Can they finally break the winning streak? They haven't won since round 10. I think they can. I'm going to take a risk and tip them. So, I'm going to tip the West Coast Eagles to get this done. I'm going to say the Eagles to get this done by 25 points. And the big call is West Coast win every quarter. The next one's between Geelong and St Kilda at GMHBS Stadium. Saints had a really good roll against the Swans last week, but obviously they just couldn't get it done, losing by 5 points last week. And the Cats, horrid footy. The first ever game I sat in the Geelong cheer squad didn't go as well as planned. So GMHBS Stadium, look, the Saints, they should be able to get the job. They shouldn't be able to get the job done. As at GMHBS Stadium, Saints haven't won at our home ground for a long time. So, so I think the Cats are going to get this done and rebound after their poor performance against the Giants last week. So I say Geelong to get this done by 33 points. And the big call is, let's see, Shannon Neal. Well, he kicked 5 last week against the Giants. Shannon Neal and Jeremy Cameron combined for 6 goals. So 3 goals each. The next one's between Collingwood and Fremantle at the MCG. Now, Collingwood, obviously last week, they couldn't get the job done against the Gold Coast Suns, losing by just a goal at People First Stadium, which handed them their 3rd loss. It's also, in fact, Collingwood has been every team that doesn't start with the letter G. So they only lost to Geelong, Gold Coast, and GWS for the entire season. Fremantle came off with a good win against the Hawthorn Hawks after being 13 points down to win by 13 at Optus Stadium, which propelled them back in the top 8. And if they win this game and the other results go their way, they can jump up higher in the 8. But I don't think they'll get the job done because Collingwood, look, they're just a stronger side and they should be able to get the job done. So I'm going to say the Pies to get this done by 10 points. I'm going to make this a really close one. As Fremantle, they're surging for finals as well. Not just Collingwood absolutely belting them. So I'm going to say the Pies are going to get this done by 10 points. And the big call is Jamie Elliott kicks at least 3 goals. The final games between Adelaide and Gold Coast at the Adelaide Oval now. Now, this could be a good game. As, look, Gold Coast coming off an impressive win against the Pies by a goal after they kept the Pies goalless last week. And, look, the Crows coming off an 11-point win at Marvel Stadium against the Dogs. They have now won 3 in a row. And they currently sit 3rd on the ladder here at Adelaide. It's at the Adelaide Oval. And they've got lots of promising players such as Phil Thorpe, Keys, Tex Walker, Isaac Rankin, etc., etc. Gold Coast now, can they handle the pressure when they take on the Crows at the Adelaide Oval? I don't think so, because look, the Crows, they just play so well at the Adelaide Oval and they rarely lose. I think the only loss I remember in my head that was against Geelong at the Adelaide Oval in Gather Round earlier this year. So I'm going to say the Crows to get this done because look, it's at the Adelaide Oval and they're so hard to beat. Barely anyone can beat them. So I'm going to say the Crows to get this done by, let's go 17 points in. So Isaac Rankin can get revenge of what happened. Like, he dropped the mark. That's what the umpire thought. He thought he marked it, but no, the umpire dropped it. It says he dropped it. So, if you want, take a look.
Perfect. They come out the front door. The kick. Rankin's now gone and rested as a forward. Rankin! Oh! Collins got there. Right at the last minute. No whistle. Umpire put it away. And then it's Gold Coast that get the call.
Damn. Do you think that should be the mark? I believe so. So, anyways, I'm going to say the Crows to get this done by 17 points. And the big call is Isaac Rankin, Taylor Walker, and Ryan Philthorpe all combined for 10 goals. Alright, guys, that's going to do it for my round 19 tips and the last week of the term 2 school holidays. If you guys enjoyed this, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in another video or live stream back at Melbourne, alright? Alright, guys, smash that like button. Leave a comment, smash that subscribe button, or see you maybe on the SNM Fremantle, SNM GWS stream. I'll definitely be streaming Brisbane v Bulldogs game, alright? Thank you all for watching.